Hey, welcome back to 2DG. We've got a Let's Talk series. Don't go away. This one's actually involves you, and it's a good one.
Probably won't be near as long either, I don't think, as the last one. It's also not going to be as controversial, I guess.
No, it's up to you.
So the topic of this one is, what's your favorite brewery? Simple question, kind of, right? So on
That's
the
right.
face value, simple question. But when you start to think about it, it's tough, right? Because you're like, well, I like this for this, that for that. It's tough. Now, our answers may actually surprise you.
I think so.
So, for me, this question kind of came to about, when did I take it? About 2 weeks ago, maybe? And it was kind of brought up by varying things. Not just, like I said, not just the face value question. I actually had to think about it. And the answer that I came to, it surprised me because I thought it would be maybe a little bit more obvious than what it actually turned out to be. But it also started because of the change that's been happening in the culture. We'll touch on that a little bit later, but we'll start to break down, because what he mentioned before we started this was criteria. So, whatever fits your mold or whatever you choose to make your choice about, it's completely up to you. That's what's cool about this. It's completely subjective, and that's the whole point. For me, I took a look at it as a whole. I didn't really want to break it down or compartmentalize it, because that will take forever, as he'll probably show you here in a minute.
Well,
To me, I just looked at it as a whole. What has this brewery brought to the industry? What do they do well? What do they not do well? How do they address certain things? That kind of thing. So,
but that's not typical for favorites, based solely on emotion almost.
oh, it's completely emotion.
So what has a brewery brought to the industry may not have anything to do with your favorite.
Yeah, like I said, that was kind of my criteria. Now, your favorite could be Anheuser-Busch. I'm not going to judge you. It is what it is. If you like their products, that's fine. I don't, personally.
I don't dislike all their products. So
not all of it.
I can't even argue that.
The majority.
Probably.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll have you start, since you have probably more to break it down into.
I'm all over the place on this. I immediately got a hold of the Good Luck Charm and said, I just don't even know how to evaluate this, because there's so many different criteria. If I were talking favorite brewery, like as far as a visit goes, Founders has an excellent, nice, cultured brewery. I really like it. Three Floyds, too small. Love Three Floyds, but the brewery's just the going there, it's too small. You can't move through. There's just not much. Their food is fantastic. Their beers are obviously fantastic. But it's not a place I would choose to visit as the best. This one's going to surprise him probably a little bit. Against the Grain, love the brewery. Love to go there. They're a smokehouse too. I think their food's pretty darn good. It's not as good as Three Floyds, but you get a different selection of food.
It doesn't surprise me, by the way.
And the city itself, it's down in the city. The city's more exciting
What
than
city?
Louisville.
I know, you just kept saying the city, so.
It's much more exciting than Munster area proper. Munster's a strip mall.
No
Sorry,
offense.
I live in a strip mall, so I know what you mean.
If you want to call that a strip mall.
Right, but you know what I'm saying. It built up along the highway type stuff, whereas Louisville's in a proper downtown. I found Against the Grain to be really fun, just to hang out and have a good time. Yeah, they brew there. It's neat. You can watch the brewing process. You can see everything as you're sitting there. Treehouse. I love Treehouse beer, but their brewery, it's nothing to brag about. You can't.
Well, they have a new one now.
I know, and this is the caveat. So, but most of the time, you can't drink at Treehouse. Most of the time, you're standing in a long line. A lot of the time, from what I gathered, you're around some collection system that smells like sewage as you're standing in that line out in the field. It's not pleasant, but at the end of the road,
Wouldn't know.
at the end of the rainbow, there's a gold pot. So, if I look at where I like to visit a brewery, I don't want to leave one out, but Bell's has a really awesome brewery too. It's larger. Well, if we want to go awesome, the Budweiser's got an awesome one in St. Louis. It's neat to see that history. and the gigantic scale of everything. But if I were to choose my favorite brewer based on the beers, I would probably go Dogfish, Stone, Three Floyds. I really would. And then Treehouse would be in there. But I think the other three have such a long track record of producing phenomenal beers. I really don't know if I could put Treehouse above those. So, favorite overall? That's tough. Maybe.
Do you want me to give you a minute or so to think about it?
Yeah, go ahead. You talk, and I'm going to think about my favorite overall.
So I'll break it down a little bit more. Favorite beers that I've had would come from Three Floyds. Obviously, Dark Lord is one of my favorite ones, and I know it's kind of cliche to say, maybe, but it honestly is. Treehouse obviously has made some of my favorite ones. Julius was phenomenal. I never had green, thanks to him. But no, they produce some of my favorite stuff, and and there's obviously many more. Like I said, I chose to think of it more as a broad brush instead of a fine tip. Anyway, here's what I base it on. So what they brought to the industry, what they're still bringing to the industry, and their integrity and quality of product. Now, when you put all those things together, the obvious answer based on our region would be Three Floyds, which they would be second. They're number 2, which is kind of surprising for probably most of you because we got a pretty hard boner for them for about damn near everything. My favorite brewery that I have ever had or anything like that is Stone. For basically this reason. They're huge, they're massive, they've got 2 locations in the U.S. or brewing facilities in the U.S. with another one in Berlin, which I thought was ballsy as hell to go to Germany where they have the Reinheitsgebot, which is basically the beer purity law, which Stone follows for the most part, to basically give them the middle finger in a way. I respect Brewdog for doing that too, but I can't get their beers a lot, so that's kind of a downfall for them. Even though they're building in Columbus, which is kind of funny. So they're building in Columbus, but I've seen less of their product since the announcement. But
it's quite odd.
Now the reason Stone is, first and foremost, they're widely distributed, to my knowledge, at least in the lower 48, probably in all 50, to be honest. I don't know that I've ever had a bad product from them. I know that you'll probably disagree with Bigger, Longer, Uncut. I liked that beer. It was the peat one.
It was a good beer. It was just too much.
Yeah.
And frankly, to be, my Tangerine IPA experience was very muted, and I wasn't happy. I have since heard from commenter that out west it's bold, so I'm thinking I had a bad bottle.
But no. So despite the fact that they've had tremendously wide distribution, even for a while now, I can't think of a bad beer I've had. Now, their Enjoy By series, probably some of the best beers that I've ever had. And you can get them basically if you look hard enough, even though I haven't seen them as frequent in my area, about every month. And what they've done for it, too, is on the bottling dates. They've been huge in that, right? So most of their focus is on IPAs or super hoppy beers. They do some stuff like their Imperial Russian Stout. They have their oatmeal stout, they've had their porter, that kind of thing, where it doesn't matter as much, but they've been huge advocates of making sure their stuff's drank fresh when it's supposed to. Reason being is because then you get full intended quality out of it.
That's why Enjoy By is such a brilliant name.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So Enjoy By, and then you put whatever date you want it to, and when you're supposed to drink it by.
It's the name of the beer.
Now, they normally will pick significant dates or something like that.
Valentine's Day, 4th of July, New Year's.
Yeah. So for 4th of July, let's say, it's Enjoy By, 7/4,
whatever year it is.
And it'll say Devastatingly Independent, or you can do April 20th, 420, which is Devastatingly Dank. Stuff like that. It's creative and that kind of thing.
About that.
Yeah. They use like 9 different hops in there and all that. Now, one of the major reasons I respect them is because Greg, the co-founder, he doesn't care, right? So their whole premise to opening it was, if you don't like it, tough. Then they expanded across the entire country, opened up the Berlin facility, like I said, to basically give the purity law the middle finger, and also because Germans generally, because they haven't had too much of a craft beer revolution up until about a year or two ago, most of their stuff were like Pilsners and lagers and that kind of thing. So Stone goes over there with,
bold ales,
IPAs and that kind of thing, and they've been successful to my knowledge.
I would like to know some financials on that.
Now, the major thing that got me thinking about it was the new movement they've gone to because craft brewers have been selling out. Lagunitas, Elysian, Wicked Weed, Ballast Point, Goose Island, to just name a few. So, what Stone was a part of and driving force behind, is, to my knowledge, is the Craft Beer Alliance, I think is what it's called. Basically, on their bottles or cans or whatever, they'll have a seal, and I think it's an upside-down bottle.
And that was Beer Advocate, right? That actually came up with that.
I don't know.
I think it was.
Anyway, basically, only breweries that are a part of this club or
And
alliance, certified to be completely
BA.
independent can put that logo on there.
BA will certify them, and
Now, why that's cool is because, and this sucks because Lagunitas is one of my favorite hoppy breweries. I put them right up there with, Stone as far as quality products basically every time. They're just owned by Heineken now, 100%. We've talked about that. Check out some of our previous Let's Talk. And that kind of thing. So, like, Goose Island does, a very good beer, Bourbon County, right? So, one of the highest rated beers in the world consistently, but they're owned by AB InBev now, which sucks. Wicked Weed, who cares? And other smaller breweries. The stuff that you don't see a lot, but all of a sudden it's in your supermarket, they're probably owned by a major corporation now. And Stone said, you'll bleep this out, said, F that. And created a way for the consumer to not only buy product, but have their integrity about it, which is huge. Now, don't get me wrong. Basically, everybody on YouTube that reviews beer will drink some shit Big 3 stuff still. It just, whatever, it happens. But that's not what we like to put our money towards. It's not.
Well, that's
what we
just
like
it.
to
It's
support.
your money. You have a right to know. And this little insignia lets you know that that's an independent brewer and you're not contributing to a bigger global monopolization of, everything. So whether it's food or beer or even clothing or whatever, electronics, you have a right to know as an American citizen, as a world citizen, you have a right to know what's involved in the production of that and the ownership of that, and spend your dollar the way you feel morally is right. If you don't want to buy a crappy iPhone because it's made by Chinese slave labor or whatever, that's your prerogative. Same with beer. If you don't want to support one of these massive breweries and their global takeover of your taste buds, you don't have to.
Yeah, so that's what's cool. So, there's going to be a lot of independent brewers that don't do it. I don't think Three Floyds will because they don't care. They're kind of in FU mode 100% of the time, and other various ones. Not to say that they're owned, because Three Floyds, I might believe, as long as Nick Floyd is alive, will never do that. But
They'll say FU to everybody.
Yeah. But it comes down to a lot of things. Consistency of the product, how big they are, despite the fact they've held out the middle finger for so long, the fact that they care about other companies, even though you wouldn't think so, but they do because they want people to not just buy their stuff, but they did it so lots of breweries would do the trend.
Well, not only that, but Three Floyds tends to follow, think of their customers frequently too.
Yeah.
They just did I think it was with Dark Horse, a collab. And the idea was, look, people in Michigan, you can't get Three Floyds. So we're going to bring it here through these people. Here's your chance,
Well, that's, say what you will about the product, like Sierra Nevada, for instance. Like, they make okay beers. Some of them are decent, some of them are not. But they've always stayed true to being independent. Same with New Belgium. Say what you will. Sam Adams. Say what you will, and I know you said a lot. Dogfish Head, even though they took that minority temporary buyout, it was just a loan, basically.
That was scary. But I can live with that.
Yeah. It's people that care about shit. So, yeah, all those factors led me into Stone as my favorite. Consistency of what they stand for and quality of product. And that was the two basic things. So you think of it like ales and lagers, you know what I mean? Two things that make up the entirety of the culture. That's what led me to Stone.
Okay, so you gave me time to think.
Lots of time.
I
Probably
really
too much time.
Yeah, well, I didn't really need that much time. My decision, my where to came down to Dogfish Head and Stone, and I actually went with Stone. I love the Stone product. It's consistent. It's bold, and Greg does stand on his own too. You know, he backs up what he says and he supports it through his own dollar and whatever. But Dogfish Head, love Dogfish Head, love what they are. Think, as I've said a million times, they're like the chefs of the industry. They'll experiment beyond what the average brewery
push
will.
the envelope,
yeah, and they'll produce a phenomenal product every time. I know at least one other channel has had a throw out beer of theirs. I've never experienced that. I think they're full of crap.
You know what we're talking about. Watch the previous videos.
Never had an experience with Dogfish Head. However, Dogfish Head is phenomenal, but Stone is the average good guy. I mean, and I don't mean, no, let's rephrase that. Stone's your average guy. They're producing phenomenal beers consistently all day, every day, across multiple plants. Dogfish is experimenting, and they're the chef. I don't know what your socioeconomic background is, but I can't go out and eat filet every night. So, I'll get something that's good quality, consistent, that I can afford, and Stone's that. I mean, Stone's just consistently good and not real outside the box and crazy. So I think for your average Joe, Stone would be the best. I really just think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, one of my first favorite beers that I could get. I mean, granted, when I started, I was trying to buy as much, as many different things every week as possible. Stone IPA was probably one of the first, cut in my teeth beers, I think, that there was, and even to this day.
When you weren't right in the fridge.
Yeah, so like on 4th of July, I bought 2 beers. One was a Budweiser. That was loud. One. First about the good luck charm behind the camera, just being a good sport. We're talking way too much. But I bought 2 beers. So Budweiser, just because for the hell of it, it's America's
Independence Day.
thing.
That's why I didn't buy a Budweiser.
Yeah. The other product I bought was a Stone.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. The other one I bought was a 6-pack of Stone IPA. Fantastic. Every single time. Now, like I said, they even don't have a problem with, and a lot of German breweries will do this, they're like, who cares what the trend is, we're staying with what we were. Stone did that for a while, but once they saw that people's tastes were going more towards, fruity styles, tropical, that thing, they actually revamped some of their recipes. So they did Stone Pale Ale 2.0, which to be honest, I haven't even seen in a while. But they also did a revamp on their Stone IPA recipe, which is huge because that's their baby, right?
A lot of people might think that's a sellout mode.
No, it's
to chase the consumer.
No, you're trying to stay viable as a company. At the end of the day, it's about money.
They're staying
with
operational.
integrity, and they did that.
Yep, I agree. I just wanted to play devil's advocate there.
No, I understand, and it's not selling out in the aspect like AB InBev or Budweiser before they were that created Shock Top, or Coors created Blue Moon,
or can't compete, so they buy.
Yeah, so they buy good breweries like Heineken did for Lagunitas. Which that's the thing. So the dude that owned Lagunitas, because I went to the brewery in Chicago, did the tour, heard the bullshit story. The dude seemed like a cool guy. Actually, he was in a small town in California, and when he was starting to do like bigger brews, more commercialized size, he actually dumped he dumped the remnants of the beer down into the sewer or whatever, and there was so much yeast and stuff in there that fed off the. And this is funny. That fed off like the
Garbage.
the leftover stuff, we'll say, that actually exploded one of the tanks or whatever.
Oh,
exploded,
my.
Yeah, one of the underground sewage tanks or whatever.
Wow.
So it was funny. The dude at the time was like, "Yeah, it's the shittiest beer he's ever brewed." But even though that dude was cool, he still sold out. and Greg refuses to do that. That's even cool too with like the owner of Sam Adams. Like, despite the fact that they're massive and you see him everywhere, that dude still has stayed independent. Like,
Yeah,
regardless.
that is true. You know that they've been approached every day. You just know.
Especially when they were the first craft brewery to go coast to coast.
And make the first dent. You know, to make the real first dent in the big three. When they started going, what's this?
Yeah.
You know, we've been watching this Pottsville, PA company for since before we
So
started.
you had like
so who
5
cares?
tap
But
handles, right? So it was Budweiser, Bud Light, Miller Lite, Coors Light, Sam Adams, Boston Lager.
That's a fact, Jack.
Yeah. So say what you will, and he says a lot of negative things.
Hey, I admire
Integrity.
them for not selling.
Yeah.
Yes. And
But-
continue.
Yeah. Now your answer surprised me a little bit.
I thought it might.
Yeah, and then I figured the same.
No.
But when you come down to it, yeah, Stone to me, like they're my favorite. So
I like everything they do.
Yeah.
They support the industry. They support other brewers. They support their product.
they do collabs all the time.
They put out great product. What's not to like?
Yeah.
So we just need to make a trip out there.
Yeah.
And I don't mean Virginia.
I was gonna say I'd like to go to their bistro and garden in Escondido, which is just
Absolutely.
north, I think, of San Diego. So, but that being the case, because this has ran a little bit longer than I thought it would, probably you too. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe.
Tell us what your favorite brewery
Yeah.
is and why.
Yeah, even if you don't want to, take 22 minutes. I think it says 22
Sorry,
minutes. Sorry. Even if you don't want to take that much time, just leave us the name. I don't care.
Yeah, at least put the name. If you want to tell us why, go for it.
Yeah.
But we'll understand everything you say.
Yeah. Ding the bell. Past that. Yeah. 2DG.
Take it easy.